Welcome to the Reseller Rising Podcast by PVP from NJ. Working full-time and reselling part-time. He talks about his entrepreneurial wins, fails, motivations, and inspirations. Here's PVP.
Welcome to the Reseller Rising Podcast by myself, PVP from NJ. Thank you so much for downloading this and listening to this. Once again, this podcast has been downloaded and listened to over 1,100 times, and it is because you, the absolutely stupendous, tremendous, incredible listeners of this podcast. And like I said, as I always say, a very heartfelt, profound thank you to downloading and supporting this podcast, this little podcast here, this little show. What's been going on? Well, first of all, it's been a few weeks since I've actually put out a podcast, but I have content and I've been putting together information and episodes. So for the next 3 weeks, you're going to have some little mini episodes where I'm going to be having excerpts from different podcasts and different shows I've been listening to and how I've really resonated with some of these excerpts, and I hope that in turn, as always, that it helps you out. This is kind of like my poor man's way of getting different voices on the podcast. Interviews are coming, folks. I just haven't dedicated the time or attention, unfortunately, to go ahead and learn software or processes, or even go out to acquire guests to put on the podcast. But like I said, these next 3 weeks is going to be the poor man version of that, by my splicing in some of little excerpts from some different podcasts. What's been going on in the business? I have the first two hires. I have a driver and I have a photographer. The driver, I don't drive. I don't have a driver's license. I've mentioned this before, but growing up in New York City, for the most part of my life, and in the Northeast, I've just never had to really learn how to drive, since public transportation was just so great, especially in New York City. So, never really learned how to drive. But I've hired a driver to help me also with the heavy lifting, moving merchandise, driving me out to some of the big box stores in New Jersey to help me source for Amazon FBA, and the money earned there, as I mentioned before, from linking up with better, much more successful FBA people, I guess, folks from the green room. The effect of meeting up with them has definitely increased my Amazon payouts, which I am incredibly thankful for. That, in combination with going out on a almost daily basis, Monday through Friday, to the big box stores, getting merchandise, doing a lot of retail arbitrage, micro profits, but it's all in the number of items being sent in. I'm shooting for 60 items a week. And like I said, it's all a combination of micro profits. One or two things are, of course, higher. And I also do include thrift items as well, where the return is better, but the sales rank is not as sexy as the retail arbitrage items. But a lot of FBA has been happening. The photographer, the other employee, he helps me with the eBay listings, in the sense of he takes all the pictures and I do all the listings. I'm on the fence about hiring a third person. I want to hire a third person to actually just do all the listing, but I don't also want to go over budget, and that is a concern, because I am spending a lot more doing retail arbitrage now, and having two employees already, and then including a third, could really blow up the budget and make any kind of profit that I make smaller, and definitely smaller. But that may be an experiment that may still happen in the month of March, so we'll see how that goes. But as it comes, or as it happens, I will definitely let you know, of course. Now, one of my biggest dilemmas, and now we're just going to get right into the episode, is doing too much. I'm doing FBA, I'm doing eBay, I'm doing Kindle, and I'm doing this podcast. And this podcast also, in conjunction with the blog and then the YouTube as well. So I'm doing a lot. I've heard a couple of recent personal development coaches, motivational gurus, and I'm going to include a couple of those excerpts in this podcast. So here we go.
Where the others go. They may learn where the others go. They may learn where the others go. They may learn where the others go. They may learn.
Before getting into the main topic of this particular episode, I did want to go ahead and take another excerpt from this one podcast that I'm going to be using twice, I guess, on this episode. Is that it was such a great podcast. I just had to share it. I just got these nuggets off of there, and it just kind of really opened my eyes. And in this one, it's John Lee Dumas, a recent interview with Brian Tracy, a longtime motivational guru, like I said, personal development coach. And he talks about fitness of the mind, or kind of exercising your brain. And I just never thought of it in that way or in that sense. But it makes a lot of sense when you hear how he explains it. I am one that I do enjoy healthy living. I do enjoy working on eating better regularly, working on exercising regularly, and I'm not always perfect with it. I have my issues here and there, and I have my days when I fall off the wagon. But more often than not, I'm pretty good about exercising, about eating right. I'm trying to do more of a vegan kind of diet more often than not. I have my days where I'll have maybe some eggs or some butter, but most days it is mostly veggies, mostly a vegan diet. And speaking of which, total segue, total plug time. I just came out with a new book on Kindle. I redid a book that I had on a vegan diet, and I just put it out now. I'm working on making it permanently free in the hopes of selling the paperback version and selling the Audible version, but the ebook version being permanently free. I'm working on that now. But as I've mentioned before in the previous episodes, and I've said that a lot in this episode, I am looking for people to review my books, to honestly go through them, leave an honest review. If you think it's great, that's great. If you think it's terrible, that's good too. But I am looking for folks to help me with my books and leave a review. And if you're interested in doing so, it's at no cost to you. I will go ahead and point to where you can go ahead and download the book, and you can review that, and you can sign up for that on the blog, pvpfromnj.com. On the right-hand column, you'll see a little box there. I've even put there, you want to help me with my Kindle books, please leave your email here, and I will email you once the book is permanently free, and you can download it at your leisure. But just 100% please leave a review. That's definitely need help with that, because I'm needing to accumulate reviews for this book and hopefully many books to come. Now on to this excerpt from the John Lee Dumas podcast, where Brian Tracy talks about a form of exercise for your brain is feeding your brain is by reading. That when you're kind of watching TV, you're kind of, it's kind of dumbing you down, kind of taking away your power. But when you're reading and you're filling the brain with new information, it's like you're exercising your brain. It's like fitness for your brain. And check out this excerpt.
It's very much like muscles. Your muscles, if you don't use them, if you tied your arm to your side for a year, it would atrophy completely. And if you don't challenge your mind continually, if you don't read, and if you don't try to learn and attempt new things, what happens is your mind gets soft. Watching television, by the way, it makes your mind flaccid. It makes it atrophy. It makes your thinking weak. It slows down. In all of thinking, you have electrical connections through the synapses from neuron to neuron. And the synapses are like the electrical wires in a power grid in a city, and the lights, the neurons are the lights. And so every neuron is connected to about 22,000 other neurons via these wires. So when you think a thought, it actually activates a whole lot of other thoughts. So the more you learn, the more you can learn. It's like doing a physical fitness program. You can become really, really quick as a thinker by simply practicing thinking. And my original title for this book, Get Smart, was going to be called Thinking for a Change. And it was going to be all the different ways that taught people think. Because if you use your mind more, just like you, when you talk about your program, you talk about it with an enormous amount of energy and brightness and quickness and fluency. You're not grasping for words like some of these radio show hosts that are going and on. They're shuffling their papers and they're looking for something to say. I mean, you call this entrepreneur on fire. Well, it's probably because you're on fire. But you're bright. You see, you could see that immediately when you talk to a person. It means that they're challenging their mind all the time. They're really working their mind. It's sort of like these female gymnasts who do the floor gymnastics, and they go whip, 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 flip, flip, turn, twist, twist. I mean, you go, wow, that they can use their bodies with such fluency. And that's how you use your mind. That's how smart people use their minds.
I'm telling you that after hearing that, already I'm starting to carry a paperback book with me when I'm home. I'm listening to more like audiobooks or motivational gurus on YouTube, just to kind of feed my brain good stuff and not sit in front of the TV and watch endless amounts of shows and kind of blah and just kind of blob out. I think this is so good and so fantastic to practice.
I'd like to say la da 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 la. Let me tell you, I'm out here from a very far away place. All a chance to be a star, nowhere seems to be too far.
Now on to the main topic of this particular episode. I self-admittedly am doing a lot. Several times I've thought, am I passionate about some of these things? I got into these other areas. I got into this podcast. I got into eBay. I got into FBA. I got into Kindle because of the shiny object syndrome. Self-admittedly, 100, 200, 300%. This is the reason why I got into all of these other avenues, right? There are days when I think, if I drop this one thing and I just work on this other thing, I'll just be totally alleviated. I could just, maybe focus on this thing and just make it blow up and really... I still have those thoughts, even still to this day. Hearing these two upcoming clips that I'm about to play for you is really, really sending that message home. That's my dilemma. I'm making money in the three areas that I'm choosing to focus on, and this podcast, that's on a total side note, initially was some way or form of me to try to go ahead and make money, but it's become more therapeutic. It's also when you reach out to me, you the listeners, and tell me that this has helped you, or you want some help from me. I'm totally humbled and totally flattered. When this is being recorded, I'm like by myself in a room, just talking. To think that this has been downloaded over 1,100 times, close to 1,200 times. People are responding back. There's another person who left a second review on iTunes. Thank you so very much. That's absolutely incredible. You don't think these things, This is why I implore even you, the listener, if there's a message that you want to put out there, the way that you talk, the way that you are, your mannerisms, in your voice, if that's even a thing, put it out there, because there's someone out there or a small group of people that are going to relate to you because they like the way that you sound. They like the way that you talk or the message that you have to give. I'm not reinventing the wheel with the information that I'm putting out here. I mean, this information that I'm putting out here has been put out many, many times over. But I think where the resonance comes from, the kind of, I want to listen to this guy comes from, is maybe because of the way that I talk or because of the way that I am, or maybe the way my voice sounds. If you're listening to this and you are ever encouraged to want to do a YouTube show or make Periscope videos or do a podcast, put it out there. Put it out there, I'm telling you. Because of the way that you talk, the way your perspective, the way that you present ththings is going to go ahead and talk to someone. Honestly, for me, I don't need the world to love me or nothing like that. If you have like the book is called like 100 True Fans, or you have a group of people that are really digging you, then that's cool. That's totally cool. But getting back to the main topic being this whole dilemma here. I think if I had to absolutely strip it down, I would just go with reselling. I would cut out Kindle. I would still continue this podcast. I would just do eBay and FBA. eBay is the thing, like I've said before, I feel the most comfortable with, and FBA really is just an extension of that. But if I had to absolutely cut something out and focus on one thing and just blow that up and try to be awesome, and even maybe still then, I'm still doing too much. I'm still maybe working on too much because I'm focusing on all these other things. What if I only focused on eBay for 2 years and really blew that up? What if I really only focused on FBA and really, really made some incredible gains on that? Or what if I just focused on podcasting and a blog and try to go ahead and grow that and monetize that? That would be awesome, I enjoy multitasking. I enjoy doing all these things, but it's a lot. I talk about that I have these 2 employees now, but the truth of the matter is when it comes to like Kindle stuff and when it comes to this podcast, like if we're talking about employees or just using Fiverr, which is what I mainly use, there's at least like 6 or 7 or 8 people that I use like on the regular, no, not on the regular, I'd say irregularly, to rewrite the books and to put this podcast together, to do a YouTube conversion, to make covers. It's a lot of people, truth be told. If there was a thing that, you would suggest me to focus on, would it be reselling or would it be Kindle? Like I said, reselling, feel totally comfortable with that. Kindle is still the small plant that's kind of needing attention and needing to grow. But this first excerpt is from Brian Tracy.
It's a very simple formula. If I had to run on the stage, give a formula, and run off, here's what it would be. And I love your idea of focus. Number 1, decide exactly what you want and write it down. Until you've written it down, you don't understand. There's a magical connection between the head and the hand, and 97% of people go around with fantasies and wishes and illusions like clouds of smoke in their brain, but they never write it down. Like an architect would create a blueprint for a beautiful building. Number 2 is say, what one skill would help me the most to achieve this goal? So you set it as a goal to learn the skill that you need more than anything else to help you to achieve the goal. And then number 3 is focus, is set priorities and focus and concentrate every day on the most important thing that you can do at every minute. And so if you do those 3 things, you're absolutely clear about what you want and you write it down and make a list of the things you can do. You identify the one skill that can help you the most at this time. This turned out to be the reason why Fortune 500 CEOs earn 281 times, is because they're constantly focusing on the single skill or the single piece of knowledge or information that can help them the most. And then third of all, focus, focus, focus. If you'll do that, nothing can stop you. You can double your productivity, performance, output. But the greatest thing of all is that you feel really happy when you're working toward a goal that's clear and you're getting better and better at the work that you do and you're focusing on one task at a time. You literally click yourself into overdrive, what they call flow, and you feel happy and you're highly charged and you're more creative and you have more energy and you can hardly wait to get up in the morning and get going. It's so simple. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yes, it is. It's the last person who got Daniel Kahneman got a Nobel Prize for this, just for pointing this out.
Brian, you're saying that I'm an entrepreneur on fire, and I appreciate that. But Fire Nation, listen to Brian's passion, his energy. I mean, he not only just, writes his stuff down, but he practices it. He believes in it, and he's just like getting it through the microphone, the sound waves. And I mean, it's just coming into my body. And if you're opening and you're listening to it, it's going to come into yours as well. And Brian, Fire Nation knows this. Like, I love the acronym FOCUS. Follow one course until success. Now, if Fire Nation could just take one thing away from Get Smart, what would you want that message or lesson to be?
It's a very simple formula. If I had to run on the stage, give a formula, and run off, here's what it would be. And I love your idea of focus. Number one, decide exactly what you want and write it down. Until you've written it down, you don't understand. There's a magical connection between the head and the hand, and 97% of people go around with fantasies and wishes and illusions, like clouds of smoke in their brain, but they never write it down. Like an architect would create a blueprint for a beautiful building. Number two is say, what one skill would help me the most to achieve this goal? So you set it as a goal to learn the skill that you need more than anything else to help you to achieve the goal. And then number three is focus, is set priorities and focus and concentrate every day on the most important thing that you can do at every minute. And so if you do those three things, you're absolutely clear about what you want and you write it down and make a list of the things you can do. You identify the one skill that can help you the most at this time. This turned out to be the reason why Fortune 500 CEOs earn 281 times, is because they're constantly focusing on the single skill or the single piece of knowledge or information that can help them the most. And then third of all, focus, focus, focus. If you'll do that, nothing can stop you. You can double your productivity, performance, output. But the greatest thing of all is that you feel really happy when you're working toward a goal that's clear and you're getting better and better at the work that you do, and you're focusing on one task at a time. You literally click yourself into overdrive, what they call flow, and you feel happy, and you're highly charged, and you're more creative, and you have more energy, and you can hardly wait to get up in the morning and get going. It's so simple. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
I love that stuff. Straight up, I love that stuff. That's it. There's no words for it now. I want to give another big shout out, as if I haven't already given many shout outs, to Josh Mendes of the Green Room. He's very much into personal development coaches and motivational speakers, and someone that I actually really would love to interview. And I'm shouting you out here, buddy. Okay, so hopefully get you on the podcast soon. But he put me on to several things, and one of the things he put me on to is Brendan Burchard. And I want to play this fantastic excerpt from one of his videos that talks about the same topic. Listen to this.
We have this saying in Montana that the time to have the map is before you enter the woods. But a lot of people have a dream and they run out into the woods and they just start trying stuff. And they take this path and this path and this path and this path. And because they didn't study best practices, they wake up and they're lost. They're confused about who they are and where they're at, and they're in this dark forest of the unknown with no plan to get out. They had no idea. They just jumped into something. They didn't study before taking that leap. And I always say, study, pay attention, learn from the best, model the most intelligent, smart, successful people you can in any given area that you want to succeed in your life before you get into it. Then develop competency by doing it over and over and over and over again. Don't do it once in a while, here and there, over and over and over. That's how you get competence. And that leads us to this third thing, commitment. If you really want to get ahead, it's going to take another level of commitment. I always say to people, they say, I want to get ahead, Brendan. I say, okay, well, if you're at this level of commitment, to get ahead means you're going to have to go to this level of commitment. If you want to earn 10 times more, you're going to have to go to 10 times more commitment in that area, aren't you? Right? You have to decide, okay, what is it specifically that I'm willing to give up and move out of the way now to focus on this thing to make it a success, to truly work harder in this area and smarter in this area. And really commit to it. And today, you know what commitment means? Getting rid of distractions. Stop believing that we can all multitask and do 50, 70 different things. It's not true. The most successful people in the world aren't doing 50 or 100 different things. They have a very defined area, sort of specialty. They focus and they said, this is my thing. So getting rid of all the distractions, meaning, you know what, if you're reading celebrity gossip magazines, you're not committed to your craft, to your art, unless you are a celebrity gossip photography, or a celebrity gossip writer, or a celebrity gossip designer, or a fashion person. I don't know, but most likely those are not contributing to either your life nor your bottom line. And if you're really going to develop competence, real skill, real talent in an area, you got to stop doing a lot of other things. It's why you don't have a lot of really famous NBA stars who are also really famous quarterbacks and also really famous tennis players. No, they're great at one thing. Olympians tend to be Olympic athletes in one area. Why? Because it takes that much commitment in one area to become great. That's how you get ahead.
Preach. I love that stuff again. Let's talk more about this. Let's go on to the blog and discuss this. I'm taking a page right out of the scavenger life, folks. And I deleted the Facebook page, and I'd rather just bring everything kind of to the blog. I want to kind of build that. I've talked about in the past building your own thing. This podcast and the blog, first and foremost, is definitely building my own thing outside of Amazon, outside of eBay, and providing this information, and hopefully building a tribe, and hopefully building a group of folks who, just like I said before, want to ride with me. But let's go ahead and start a conversation regarding this on the blog. Do you honestly think like the one thing is the better way to go for yourself, or maybe from an example that you've had in your life? Or, it's good to multitask and just do a bunch of stuff. I might have really, really great success with focusing on the one thing, as opposed to, like I said, I'm not running around with a chicken with his head cut off. I've already had the social proof with these 3 places and this podcast and everything, that all these things, they do work. But I would love to hear what you have to say. Once again, this is coming to a close. I have some more material, similar style, for the next 2 podcast episodes. And at the end of March, beginning of April, we will definitely have the Q1 2016 financial report and see how things have been the last few months. The income is, gone a little loopy because of, haven't been doing a lot with Kindle, and it's kind of been on and off. But, hoping that in the coming months, Kindle money starts to increase and we can actually make more than $200 or less than I did last year. Hopefully make $200, $300, $400, $500, $600, $700, $800 more this year using Kindle. So let's see what happens. God bless, and I hope this finds you in a great place. And like I said, reach out on the blog and let's talk. Let's meet each other. Let's meet each other.
Thanks for listening. Please subscribe, rate, and review. Visit pvpfromnj.com for more. Keep making that popcorn pop.